Hi, everybody. My name's Alyssa Malaspina, and I'm joining you tonight to talk about March Madness. It's been March Madness for the ISTE Librarian Network, and we have read a book this month. We're doing a book study. And oh, there's Mark, and he has the book up for us. So, Mark, you want to hold that up for us again? Hold up the copy of the book. Yes, it's Teaching Literacy in the Digital Age. And not only do we have Mark joining us, who is sort of the editor of this book, but we have two of the people who contributed tonight with us. So we have Mark Gura, and I told you, I told you I'd spell my name, say it wrong, and I did. And we have Jen Latimer, and this is Jen, so there's Jen. And then we have BJ Neary, too, and they have all sort of contributed to this book. And we're going to spend tonight talking about the book and a little about, how do we teach literacy in the digital age, which is a really important topic. And, we'll be taking any questions that people may have. I have the Q&A feature up. We're also tweeting on the ISTE network. I'll be sort of, monitoring the Twitter feed at ISTE the hashtag ISTE So if you have any questions, I can answer them there too. So I'm really excited tonight. Let's get started. Mark, do you want to start us off? Tell us a little about the book and how you got started writing it and what brought you to teaching digital literacy.
Okay, well, I'll give a little bit of my back, just a little bit. I was a teacher for many years, and then I was the director of instructional technology for the New York City school system for 7 or 8 years before I retired. And writing has always been part of my job, always something I've been interested in. And at a certain point in the year 2000, that's 15 years ago, I put together a book for ISTE, which was called Making Literacy Magic Happen. It was a very successful book. ISTE had out for a good number of years. Basically, what I and my colleague who put this together did was we culled many years worth of Learning and Leading magazine. Remember Learning and Leading?
Oh my God, that's so long ago.
Right, and we pulled out something like 30 articles and kind of curated these and put our own spin on annotating these and explaining them to the readers. And so that book, Making Literacy Magic Happen, was there, and ISTE kept putting it out for about 10 years, and then the technology just became too outmoded, and they pulled it off the market. And for a few years, I was having conversations with the acquisitions editors at ISTE, and they kept saying, "Boy, we'd love to have another book like that," but you couldn't do it the same way again because the magazine didn't feature the same type of articles anymore. After a couple of years, I relented and I agreed to take a whack at producing that type of book. And by the way, I should mention that this is the fourth book I did for ISTE, the one we're talking about tonight, Teaching Literacy in the Digital Age, and I'm actually working on a fifth one now, which is Fostering Creativity with Technology.
Oh, that's a good one. That's an interesting topic too.
Well, I just may interview you, Alyssa. I think you've probably got some good ideas there.
I've done some interesting things with fostering creativity in the digital age.
Anyhow, to just finish that little piece up, after agreeing to do this for ISTE's editors, I thought this was going to be an easy project. In the book, I wrote one chapter, and other people were going to write the other chapters. It had to be the most difficult book I've ever put together, and I've written and published over 12 at this point, and but I did some outreach through the ISTE literacy network, and through my own network, and through reaching out to some colleagues and their network, and I managed to pull in more people, more wonderful people than the editors would have ever imagined. And just before we went on the air, we were having a little reunion. So I'm with Jennifer Latimer and B.J. Neary, both very talented colleagues who contributed to the book, and it's great to be in. This is a virtual space, but it's great to be in any space with these two colleagues again. And so I just briefly I'll say it was quite an editing chore. Some people knew how to write, some people not so well. But even after I got all of the submissions in, I realized, and now they all have to be voiced the same way, and they all have to have the same features.
That's the hardest part, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, as a person who's writing a book now and that is sort of doing the same thing, that is the hardest part. My
So
editors just mentioned that.
you know what I'm talking about, and that's why what I thought was going to be a wonderful 6 to 8 month walk in the park turned out to be a 2 year wonderful, wonderful uphill journey. And I think I've spoken enough to kick this off, and I'll turn this over to one of my contributing authors there.
Okay, so we'll talk to Jen. Now, I'm going to give a little back story to Jen. Jen and I was lucky enough when I was at South Orange Middle School and in the South Orange Maplewood School District to work with Jen Latimer. She was one of my colleagues in the elementary school that fed up to me. And she had told me, I'm writing a chapter for a book, and it never registered to me fully what book it was. And, we had talked a little about it, and then when we picked this book for our book discussion, I was flipping through it, and, oh my God, Jen Latimer's book is there, and there's Jen. And so it just was like pure coincidence, and it was very funny. And so I'm lucky enough, I was like, oh, I can get Jen to join us.
Absolutely.
So I'm lucky enough to have Jen join us tonight. So Jen, tell us a little about your chapter in the book and sort of what you discussed about writing, the ways that you use digital literacy with technology.
I'm Jennifer Latimer. I am the school media specialist at Clinton Elementary School. We are about a 500 student school. We do feed into Alyssa's, or did feed into where she was. We are also the ELL elementary school for the district, so we have, a nice diverse range of students. And Maplewood South Orange is particularly diverse anyway, so we have a nice mix to deal with. And I was fond of the work of Henry Jenkins and fan fiction, and I'm always trying to figure out how to be more creative with kids, so that was on my plate a few years ago. And I spoke to a parent in our school, Chris Schamberg, Dr. Schamberg, who knew Mark, and we all sort of connected on some ideas of how to do more digitally creative projects. At the same time, I was trying to find something to replace Battle of the Books for 3rd grade, which is a beloved program in many schools, but I just was having some challenges with it with our student base. And so I said, okay, I am going to test this where I take that program out and I replace it with a 6-week collaborative project. So thankfully, having Dr. Schamberg's work to pull from as well, we did it. I like to say it was the most fun low-tech project that I have ever done in my career. I know ISTE is a tech organization, but I also wanted to remind teachers that sometimes you can make really awesome tech projects on a very low-tech budget. Now, when we started, it was PowerPoint. Now, clearly, you could use, with the Google revolution, you could do Google products as well. But I worked with one computer, and I had a laptop for sounds. I was able to draw in digital citizenship. I was able to draw in, all, I called it digital 3D because I really wanted all of their different senses to be involved. And every student was able to succeed 100% in this project was really my goal. So that's a long-winded answer, but it was a low-tech, high collaboration, high creativity project that was extremely successful and still talked about today by the children who are now in middle school. So.
And so, do you so explain a little more about the project. I mean, you talked in general about it, but I want people to get like a little bit more of an idea. I happen to know what it is because, I read the book and I know you, but for the few that may not have read the book, because there's only like 2 or 3 out there, explain a little about it.
So the nuts and bolts of the program is that I wanted children to tell a story only using 50 words because I'm dealing with students who don't speak English natively, and I didn't want any special education student or anybody else to have an issue. We were creating these mini stories. But if you hand a child a piece of paper that's blank, many students will freeze and the creativity disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to supply you with commonly known elementary images. It was images like Captain Underpants. It was Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It was Batman, Snow White, and then I threw in a Kandinsky, a famous piece of artwork that seemed to have motion. And that was the middle image of 5 images. So in essence, they picked the middle of the story. Then they had to tell me what happened before that scene and what happened after that scene. Again, only using 50 words for the whole project. So through this 6 weeks, they either created sound effects or we used sound effects we found online through, they were, what I'm trying to say, they had the rights to share the project. So they talked about, who has the rights to different things you find online, and we found sounds that were freely available through SoundGoal. And then they had to use their own drawings. And the beauty of it is when they had these papers and their cards in front of them, children who were not able to come up with the words right away were able to start drawing the story.
Mm-hmm.
And students who were more verbal could start writing the story. And the group was just all working together so that there was no barrier to entry point, basically, barrier to entry. So the visual thinkers were writing and sketching as the writers were, were writing, and then they were picking sounds, and then we practiced editing because editing was a hugely popular curriculum point in 3rd grade. So I had a group that provided me a wonderful story of 200 words. But they would have the sound, and then they would be telling me about the sound. So we talked about the fact that you don't have to tell me if you've just provided the audio for me.
Wait, are you telling me that 3rd graders don't know how to edit themselves? I'm shocked.
Some of them really just wanted to provide me a novel. And I had one group that literally gave me 50 words on the dot. They were potentially stereotypically the group that you would demographically think would be right in brevity and briefly.
Right.
But yes, it was a challenge for some, but for others it was a joy because they just didn't. They could tell a story in mixed medium and in all forms, and everybody created stories and we shared them in the auditorium and we brought them to life using PowerPoint, using low tech so that nobody felt like it was too much for them.
I mean, I think that's such a great idea. Now, Mark, we have a question from you coming in from the audience, and they're wondering, how did you choose the authors for this book? Like, how did you, choose Jen? And I'm going to talk to BJ in a minute and ask her, sort of about what she did in how her part of the book. So how did you make that choice? You spoke a teeny little bit about it, but what made you choose Gen Project and BJ's and all of that?
Okay, well, one thing I'll say is that I mean, at the moment, I'm the president of the Literacy PLN.
Okay.
I was just a member when I was putting this book together. In fact, I had started before the PLN had actually become a PLN. Um, and so it was an interesting relationship because I kind of, as an independent author editor, I partnered with the PLN, and so I kind of went through the submissions and picked the ones. Well, it was two things that were good, solid instructional practice, appropriate and um, interesting application of technology, and then I was also looking for can I see some common thread for my vision of the book so that these could all sit between two covers comfortably as part of a broader body of material that was consistent enough for teachers and colleagues to acquire the book and use it and get good value out of it for themselves. And so I went through it, and then I went to a number of prominent members in the literacy PLN and asked, because I wasn't comfortable doing that entirely on my own, so I got some input from them as well. And with that, I felt very confident that I had a good body of pieces. And I think, go
I
ahead.
think you're right, it does. I mean, I think you did an excellent job putting that together and really helping people to understand ways and give different examples on how to, teach literacy in the digital age. Now, BJ, we are up to you now. Can you tell us a little about, your part of the book, what you did, your whole area, and all of that?
Okay, well, yes, and just so you know, I've been retired for the last 2 years. And before that, thank you, before that, working with this on with Mark, we really thought the book was going to be published very quickly. So I kind of feel like I think I'm the first chapter in the book, and it's how we introduced Animoto doing digital book trailers. And even before that was finished, we were using all other kinds of technologies too. Rather than the written book report, we were also using Glogster, we were using Prezi, but what I did was, in my chapter, how I was the school book talker. I was at Abington Senior High for 11 years, and it's grades 10 through 12 and 2,000 students. And when I went there, one of the first charges of my job was they had 3 reading teachers with a lot of reluctant readers, and we had to find a way to get these kids engaged and excited about reading. So I read like a crazy person. I'm retired, and I'm still reading young adult like a crazy person and loving it.
How do you not love young adult books?
Right. I mean,
honestly, I read the other books, and I'm like, these are not as good as the other books.
No, I can't. And I really find that I felt that young adult books helped me understand the students, because the students are also different, all the young adult books are different, and when I used to do book talks, the students would say to me, Mrs. Neary, did you read every book in this library? And I didn't, but over the years I made sure I had to stay on top of them, because there were students that wanted, new books.
Right.
I had to keep track of the old books. I would go down the shore for the summer with like 3 boxes of books to read, so when I went back in the fall, I had all these books for the students. But then that became not only the book talking and using the Animoto or some other kind of technology as the end product. Other teachers in the schools came to me, the English teachers, the social studies teachers, the ELA teachers, the language teachers, and we started if it wasn't a book talk, it was something that they were doing in their class that they wanted to use one of these kinds of different technologies. So that's kind of, how it started with book talking, but then all the different technologies like Animoto and, Prezi and Symbaloo, the teachers were just really excited to use them with their students, and the students liked using it too. So that it went from reading, but then it also became a technology assessment.
I mean, I think Jen and I can both say that, librarians, that's what we are great at.
Yes.
We're the ones who model the technology first for the teachers. A lot of times we will use it first in what we're doing, either in book talks or in something we are showing the kids, and then you hook the teachers in and the kids in, and then it spreads to the rest of the school. That's why librarians rule, in my opinion.
Yes, and it also gets some of those teachers that aren't really into technology. If they know that they have somebody helping them with it, they're not afraid. They're not afraid because you're holding their hands, and and then the students love to be involved too. So.
Oh yes, and that's a lot of the times we are like, I think that's what is so great about, all of us, is that we do that. We will hold their hand. We will be that person to help the people when they, want to use a new technology. Just today, now I'm a supervisor of technology for a district.
Oh, great. Okay.
And some of the supervisors and I were sitting around trying to figure out what best technology tool to use for this. And I was playing with Kahoot, which I had heard about, but I hadn't used before. And they were making fun of me because I was so excited. I was like, oh, did you know we could do this? And I'm like, but that's what, like as a librarian or, as a technology person, you try it out and then you try it with the kids and you figure it out as you go. And that's, what's so great about us.
Yes.
Totally sort of off topic, but with what we were saying, but I thought I'd throw that in. Now, so you talk about using Animoto and all of those tools. I have to say I loved using Animoto for book trailers. Do you want to explain a little about some of the ways you used it with your classes?
Yes. Basically what the reading teachers did was they would have the students in the classroom, and they would say, you're going to read this book and you're going to try and sell it like you're a movie producer. You're not going to give away the ending, and but this is what we want you to do. We want you to sell it to all the other students and if it's good enough, then the library will put it on their library catalog, and then anybody who goes and looks at the title of that book can click on your digital book talk and see what you did. So that was what we did, and then the teachers had like a script where they had a rubric of what they wanted the students to do, and we would bring them into the library. We have two classrooms in the library, and we would show the students how to use it, how to find pictures, how to give credit for the pictures, how to find music, and how to be very precise and not wordy, and get the point across. And some of the students, if they could, maybe end it in a question rather than, that would cause the other students to think, okay, I need to read this book because I want to find out how it ended. So, that is how it worked. But the teachers did part of it in the classroom so that when they came down to the library, they knew exactly what they were going to do. They were just going to be shown how to use it, and then they were going to be looking for, their images, their music, and what kind of wording they wanted to have,
right.
I want to say slides, but they're not slides.
Yeah. Right. Yes. I mean, it's such a great tool, and it's a very easy tool to use. Especially Animoto is a very easy tool to use to do something like that.
And it's gotten better and better over the years too. I mean, it started out so long ago, and they just try and find ways to make it easier to use. Providing even more product for the students and the teachers to use as well. Yes.
And it always looks like they've done so much work. When I would show the kids, I did something very much like that with my teachers, and it started out very much like that, and then my students, and then it would be, you know, they would be, I'd be like, but look, this is what it looks like, and they'd be like, oh my God, what is that? You know, how did you know, you put three things together, how did it turn out so pretty?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So Animoto makes it look easy, and the students love that because then they have a good product. And as we said, if it's good enough, it'll go on the library catalog, and you know, then we would upload it. I think by the time I left, we had about 175 book trailers uploaded to the library catalog. Yeah, we call them the best of the best.
Yes, they are. Now we are almost at the end. Mark, is there, like, I can't believe we're almost at the end. Can you know, is there stuff you want to contribute? Because we talked about BJ and Jen's part, but, you know, talk about some of the other things.
Well, listen, before we go, I really have to mention that listening to Jennifer and BJ put me back in touch with the level of commitment, the depth of knowledge that, you know, it was close to 20 people I was working with to produce this book. And so as rich as what we just heard from BJ and Jennifer is, it was basically the case for almost everyone. And, you know, I was thinking a little bit earlier today, so, you know, we do these webinars now, we have Twitter chats, you know, we blog, we have all of these alternate ways, I mean, alternate to print books, ways for professionals to communicate their experience to their colleague. Why do the print book? But then I remembered that many of these relationships I had with people like BJ and Jennifer during the writing of this went on for months and months. Remember, ladies?
Yes.
I would keep pestering you for refinements, and what really comes out of this is it's roughly 20 professionals telling the story of a practice which involves technology resources, and through the many iterations and drafts, it comes out pretty close to exactly the way the practitioner would want the story of that practice told. That's really very different than some of these quicker methods of communicating professional knowledge, which are of value too, but really taking the time to craft this so that the story is nearly perfect. I feel absolutely certain that there's a lot of value in doing it that way still.
I agree with you, though it is hard when you have a deadline. But no, I think that is true. And I mean, I think your book did a very good job giving lots of different examples of how you could teach literacy in the digital age, from book trailers to Jen's project to lots of different projects and lots of different ideas, because that is something that people worry about. Oh, if they're using computers, they're not reading, and how do we teach them all of those things? And you know, your book gives many good examples for librarians and for teachers on how you could do that.
And Alyssa, and it is all thoroughly aligned to the Common Core and ISTE standards, and I mean, it's the way we teachers would want it to be.
I agree, and that, you know, and I think that that's what's great about it. And you know, we've been discussing it all month in the ISTE Lib network, and you know, it's been very interesting to hear people's thoughts and ideas. And you know, I thank you guys for joining us today. Now, you know, for the next half hour, I'll be on Twitter, and you know, Jen will pop by, and you know, a few BJ, if you want to, you know, just search the hashtag, the ISTELib hashtag, and we'll sort of be discuss. You know, if people have questions, they're more than welcome to, you know, ask them on that hashtag for the next while. And next month, I'm really excited because we are going to have me. I am interviewing myself, I guess. Maybe I'll get Donna or Tiffany or one of them to interview me, but they've asked me to talk about using augmented reality in education, which is a topic that I'm writing a book on. So that's what next month's webinar is going to be on, and I'll look at my calendar and I'll get a date soon for that, and we'll put it out there for the ISTE Live Network. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's been really interesting. I learned so much. I cannot thank you enough, and good night.